What's happening, guys? My name is Anthony, and in today's video I'm finally bringing to you guys the F122 track guides. Now, I know that there's so much changes that's happened to this game in terms of how the suspension model works, how the tire model works, and everything in between, so it's time to relearn the tracks and how to take each curbs and stuff like that. So that's what we're going to be doing in this track guide series. We're going to be doing them all. Now, as you guys know, I'm not the quickest guy on the game. However, I do feel as if I know enough to be able to help a lot of you guys who are new towards the game, or maybe some of you guys who are intermediate level and want to jump up to that advanced level. So if any one of those two things describes you, make sure to stick around and let's learn Bahrain. Okay then, guys, so what I'm going to be doing is doing this track guide around if you were using a default setup, as we don't actually know about setups and stuff like that yet. So going into the final corner, usually you want to try and get the best exit possible because you want to carry that speed all the way down to the first corner. So what I like to do is I like to brake a little bit early on, basically on the 100-meter board, and just get myself prepared for this lap. So you want to stay out wide instead of turning in like how naturally you would. And you want to turn in late, get your foot on the throttle right away, try and obviously be as smooth as you can with the throttle, get the throttle down, and boom, you're starting a lap here at Bahrain. You want to open up DRS, of course, and then all this time you're really just trying to, just find your way through, the bumps or whatever, and then coming up to the first corner now, you want to brake a little bit earlier in this year's cars. Again, we're not using setup, and the cars are a little bit heavier than they were in the previous year. So usually I brake around about, probably going to be like 120 or something like that. Brake around there, and then you want to straight line your braking. It's so much more important to straight line your braking in this year's game, especially if you're not using ABS. Because if you're not using ABS and you lock up, you're not hitting the apex. You're going wide, and you're going to lose a bunch of time. So it's super important you stay in a brake line. And then you downshift into third gear, one last downshift as you're going into the apex second gear, and then you want to short shift back up to fourth gear. Try and be super smooth. That's really the case when it comes to if you want to drive fast on this game. You have to be smooth with your braking, with your steering, but mainly with your throttle. You want to be super smooth here. The amount of times trying to get a lap that I spun just because I was a little bit too aggressive on the throttle. Be as smooth as possible. Just lay down the throttle. Now, here is where things change a little bit. I would say don't use the curb unless you're 100% confident in yourself, because you can use the curb. However, the cars bottom out a lot easier this year, and the car will bottom out on this curb. So unless you're 100% confident, you're probably going to bottom out and you're going to shoot straight off into the wall. So I highly recommend, if you're not confident, don't use it. But you can use this curb here for the exit, as it's completely flat. And obviously you want to open up DRS, and you're coming up to this next corner now. It's going to be in a 7th gear roughly for this next corner. You want to brake again in a straight line, using all the track possible here. On a 100-meter board, 7th gear, straight line, downshift into 4th gear, one last downshift into 3rd as you're turning into the apex here, and then boom, back up to 4th. Very important, back up to 4th, because you can easily lose the car. There's a little bit of a bumpy section here as we're coming out on the exit, and that can spin you if you're not in a high enough gear. Last year, we used to use these curbs. I've tried using them, but the car keeps bottoming out, so I'll maybe continue to try and see if it's actually possible. Probably with a custom setup, you probably could use it, but I didn't use it in the lap that I got for this video just because I kept bottoming out. Next corner, going to be a 6th gear for this one. This is the end of sector 1. As soon as you reach this curb, so really like it's sort of like a stabby brake, down into 5th gear, and then literally as soon as you start turning in, right back up to 6th gear, get your foot on the throttle, and you want to just carry all that momentum on this curb. Ride this curb if you need to as well on the inside. And then here, you don't want to use too much of the curb here because the car will bottom out. So probably use up until about only your right tires are on the curb. You won't bottom out then. If you use any more than that, the car will start to bottom out. Now this corner, 7th gear, you want to use the momentum of the outside of the track here. So you're going to be driving in a straight line, but as you can see in a straight line, you're going to be driving straight. You still want to brake in a straight line though, because again, you don't want to lock up. So as you get to this section here where the light blue sort of switches to the darker blue, in 7th gear, you brake in a straight line, once again using the momentum of this curbing here, because it will allow you to sort of continue to carry that speed as you turn in. You want to downshift into 3rd gear here. Boom, back up to 4th gear. You want to be super smooth with your throttle inputs so that you don't spin out. And then here's the hardest corner of the track. Now going into the corner, into turn 9 and 10, I like to use as much track as possible on the outside and then swing the car in. This corner is going to be so difficult, especially because if you lock up, you're basically going off the track, because then you'll start to bottom out on the curbs. You really want to be careful with this corner. You want to brake hard in a straight line down until you get to the curb, Now, as you get to the curb, you're probably going to be in about third gear here or second gear. That's when you want to start turning in. Turn 10 here, boom, hit the apex, up to third, be as smooth as you can. It's very difficult because if you go a little bit too wide here, the car will start to bottom out again, so you don't want to use too much of the curb there. Open up DRS, be super smooth, and then boom, you're off. Now the next corner is a fast left-hander, so you do want to take it quite fast. With the default setup, I brake around about, I would say this is probably about 70 meters, down into fourth gear. Now you can use this inside curb if you want to. I've not really noticed any sort of time gained or time lost by using this curb. So you can use it, you don't have to use it, it's up to you, I guess. And then again, just be super smooth. Try not to run out of track, because if you run out of track, that's going to be obviously a bad thing. And this little section here, I've noticed that I've gained a little bit of time just staying in the middle of the road, keeping the car in 6th gear for just a little bit extra longer. Using some of the curb here, it doesn't actually spin you out, or at least it hasn't spun me out with the way that I drive it. And then upshift to 7th gear, so that you're not obviously revving the engine out too much. Using all the curbing here, then come off of it, brake as soon as you get to the orange barrier on the other side, on the right hand side, down into 3rd gear I was using, and then quickly short shifting back up to 4th, being as smooth as possible, using all the track. So you want the car to be right here. You want to be using all the track, just until you actually get that traction down, and then you come off the curb, because that little part there at the end of the curb, it will bottom out the car and you'll lose the car. And then for the final corner, it's going to be in 8th gear. You want to brake just after the 100 meter board, around about, say, 80 meters or so. Braking a complete split line. You do want to turn in, I think it's around about the 50 meter board. Around about here, you want to start to turn in, down into 4th or 3rd gear here. Boom, hit the apex, back up to 4th if you've shifted down to 3rd, and then just be as smooth as possible. And then that is a lap of Bahrain. You would have probably seen some of the corners and how I took them as I was going through the lap. But here's a full lap, played at full speed. You can see how to tackle Bahrain on F122.
Okay, so the last lap time was at 1 minute 28.3.
Okay, so that's going to be it for the Bahrain track guide. Now I pass it over to you guys to go out there and master the circuit yourself. Beat my times. I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of you guys out there that can eventually do that. As I said, I'm not the quickest guy in the game, so it should be easy enough to beat my times. But either way, go out there, learn the track, become better at the game, and then let me know by either following me on Twitter and let me know over there, or joining my Discord server and letting me know over there how much time you were able to gain thanks to this track guide. And right about now, there should be about 4 videos on the screen. Make sure to click any one of them, whichever one interests you. I'll catch you guys in my next track guide. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.